Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Good afternoon and welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to introduce to you Arno van Rooyen from Velocity. Welcome to the show, Arno.
Thanks, Chris.
Arno, right, before we get into the interview, it's customary for us to basically do a quick CV check, if that's okay, where we will basically just introduce, basically academia through to profession, what you've done in your career, to help our listeners understand why we've invited you on the show. So is that okay if I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Clearly, if I get any of these dates wrong or pronunciations, etc., then correct me. Hopefully, I'll get it right. So basically, education was Northwest University, based in South Africa. What did you study at Northwest?
So I studied physics and maths.
Yeah.
And I also majored in computer science.
Okay.
So my education started in 97 and I graduated in 2000.
Cool. Okay. Sort of career-wise, following university, did a couple of years in South Africa, and then in 2002, you came across to the UK. So you moved across to the UK, moved to Nottingham.
That's right.
Where you joined an insurance company called IGI, where presumably you were working in their IT department.
Yes, that's right. So I was a developer for insurance company. When I came over to the UK, after finishing my degree, when I was still in South Africa, I got involved with business process automation. Then decided to tour Europe.
Cool.
Left that behind. Came here, ran out of money, and soon realized I need to get a job. And it was quite a funny story because just after 9/11, obviously, the crash in the economy, IT was a very difficult place to be in, job-wise. So I actually worked in a restaurant for 3 months.
Okay.
And I met somebody in the restaurant, which is the owner of the insurance company in Nottingham. And he asked me, what are you doing here? You know, we need IT people in Nottingham. So, you know, just by chance, that sort of kickstarted my career in the UK, provided me with enough money to tour a bit around in my spare time, and that basically launched my career in this country.
That's a great story. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously, once you were at IGI for 4 years till 2006, after which you joined an organisation called K2, where you became a senior consultant.
That's right.
And then following that, from 2009 to sort of 2010, you joined an organisation called Global 360, where you worked as a senior process BPM developer. And then in 2010, you took the brave decision to leave and set up your own business, which is Velocity, where you are managing director and also business solutions architect and a certified K2 master. Does that sound about right?
Yes, that sounds about right. So I joined K2 in 2006. I realized that business process automation is what I want to do. I stayed there for a couple of years and I saw a lot of things. I traveled a lot, but I got an itch, so I wanted to move on to something else. So I joined one of their competitors, which I'm very happy about. I actually at the time got a call from the CEO of K2 asking me not to join.
Sure.
I did eventually joined the competitor because I was curious what they do. So I was based in Swindon at a big building society. So we automated some of their processes. I've learned a lot there, but I became bored again. So I decided to become independent at that point. During that time, my firstborn was born, so I had to make a really tough decision. Do I want to be really busy at work, or do I want to be a sort of a father for the first 3 years so I can spend time at home? So I chose the latter, actually. I decided not to grow my business at that point, just being independent for the first couple of years, just to be able to spend some time at home as well, because fortunately with my type of job you can actually work remotely, which is the great thing about technology. After my second born, which is roughly about 2014, I couldn't wait to get out of the starting blocks, and that's when I started growing Velocity. Initially a couple of people, and then that doubled again and doubled again. So we had really aggressive and rapid growth throughout the last couple of years. I think if you look at a picture of me in 2012 and now, I probably look about 15 years older.
Brilliant.
But, I guess I've always enjoyed working hard. Ambition. I'm quite an ambitious person.
Entrepreneurial.
Yeah, and quite curious about how you could apply technology. I meet a lot of people. So it's, that's sort of a whirlwind tour of my career so far.
It sounds good. And the bit regarding the children we'll come on to actually later on in the interview, if that's okay, because that's, I definitely want to sort of understand a bit more about that and the positive outcome of making that decision in the early stages of your business. In relation to actually just your job title alone, so sort of managing director, business solutions architect, and a certified K2 master. So appreciating and just visualizing me as a bit of a simpleton. What's a K2 master? What is that? And to our listeners, what does that mean?
It sounds scary. It sounds like you wake up in the morning and you put on specific clothes and you go out and everybody is scared because you've got this masterdom around you. But what it really is just a very elite club. I think there's about 15 people globally that's part of it, and it's people that's been chosen as a result of their investment in K2 technology throughout their career, gets accepted into this club. So it's a very sort of an inner circle, and there's certain privileges in that. So if we speak to people that develop the K2 technology, we sort of get an early insight into industry standards, what new technologies are coming out. So it's really just accreditation based on the fact that you're sort of a lifetime career person with inside that industry.
What is K2?
So K2 is a business process automation engine.
Okay.
So think about it as a canvas, a digital canvas that you can draw a business process on, with all the steps to achieve work or to make workflow between people. So K2 is a digital version of that. So you can tell the software what to do at specific times in terms of orchestration and where to send work to people to make them very productive.
Okay.
So basically what we do is we use tools like K2, speak to businesses in all sorts of industries and automate their processes to effectively optimize their business and save them money.
Okay. And having a look at your website, there's at the bottom a very impressive banner of the clients that you've worked for and who have employed you. And so if I just list some of those off just so our listeners can understand. So you've worked with Zurich, obviously big insurer.
Yep.
The NHS, CBRE, which manage a lot of office blocks and commercial units, including the one we're currently sat in, which is the Innovation Centre in Silverstone. You've worked with the Ministry of Defence.
That's right.
Yeah, very impressive. Local university, Cranfield University, which is pretty cool. And for all of those involved in automotive and motorsport, etc., you've also worked with Rolls-Royce.
That's right.
So as you said, sort of broad brush of different sort of industries there. And so coming back to the automation piece, so your business provides sort of three key and core services. The first is process automation. So what is that, and how can you help businesses with that?
So process automation is where you take a business process, either customer facing or a back office process like an HR process, and you automate it.
Okay.
So once it's automated and the process is initiated, i.e. the process is started, then tasks flow automatically to various people that has to do work in order to achieve an end goal. So again, process automation is the most rudimental form of workflow and task management. What we try and avoid is people that engage with each other to do work with inside an organization, to be in their email inboxes all the time or send Excel files around. We sit down with them and present them with the process map that needs to be followed, or the workflow in order to achieve their goals. And then we give it to a tool like K2 or Mendex or Matsoft, and we automate that. And once that goes live, these people will then have a task list, or they'll have a list on their mobile phone. And when tasks get assigned to them in order for their piece of the work to be done, in order to achieve the end goal, they do that. And once everybody's work is done, then hopefully the workflow is completed and everybody's achieved their own goal or the goal. So for example, rudimental example is expense claim. You know, everybody does these. You can automate the process to allow you to submit these. Perhaps it goes to the manager for approval. Once it's approved, then it goes to finance for payment. So that's a very simple example of how we would use process automation tools to automate an expense claim. That's a very simple example. You could have, other industries like, for instance, a hospital, where you automate a business continuity process. Defense, where there's idea suggestion box processes that you automate. Insurance, where you automate the claims process. So the technology itself is really agnostic of the industry. It is helpful to have industry knowledge. That's why, I guess, with the K2 masterdom comes the sort of the experience to understand people's processes, their pains they've got, and then to advise them, to tell them which is the right way forward to get to your sort of automation goals.
And the K2 mastery, just to come back to that point, actually, another question that's popped into my head. How long did it take you to achieve that, and what was the process to get that?
Well, you get invited into the club. I think after 10 years, you can apply for that.
Okay.
But what you need to do, you need to show significant benefits and significant contribution towards the technology before you get accepted.
Okay.
So, it's not something you can learn in a book. It is a path you need to walk. And it's honorary, so you get accepted for your contribution towards it. So some people call you a K2 veteran, which sort of gives your age away.
But with age comes wisdom,
Exactly.
And that's highly valuable to a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay. So that's process automation. You guys also can support businesses with digital transformation. So what does that mean, and how can you help businesses, certainly those within Silverstone Technology Cluster and further afield, how can you support businesses with that?
So digital transformation is, if people ask what it is, I think if you ask 10 people, you will get 10 different definitions of it.
Sure.
In our view, process automation is at the core of a business. Every business has got processes, and you need to at least automate these processes to have a step towards business optimization. We see digital transformation as a means to be able to pivot your business and your business model by using innovative and progressive technologies. And we see digital transformation, or the technologies that enables digital transformation, wraps around process automation. So for example, if you do have process automation inside your business, it might actually send tasks from one person to another person. when it's done, you reach your end goal. But what we do then is we wrap progressive technology around that and say, well, instead of actually, instantiating a process by sending in an email, let's create a mobile phone app and put that on the App Store for somebody to download, so they can take a picture of their expense receipt, and that then automatically gets subsumed within your process. The same process still executes in the background, but because you front it with a progressive technology, it just gives you that competitive edge, and it also gives your customers a really superior experience. Also, if you look at, for example, the big data and IoT devices, these are all progressive technologies that you could plug in or to front your business processes. So you could have IoT sensors. I know in Milton Keynes, for traffic management, there's quite a lot of IoT sensors that goes up in Milton Keynes.
What's an IoT sensor?
So IoT actually stands for Internet of Things, and it's basically just an instrument that measures something. So it could measure air quality, it could measure how many people a day goes through a set of traffic lights. So it's anything instrumentation that logs data. And that data can then be used to either be enriched with a big data model. So if you've got today's temperature or this week's temperature, you can actually enrich those figures with averages of the last 10 years and use algorithms to extract patterns out of that and predict certain things. And if certain alerts happen, you can then instantiate a workflow process to tell somebody, perhaps you need to go look at this particular server room because the temperature has just increased. Maybe one of the air conditioning units have failed. So we see digital transformation is the way for businesses to really leverage Internet of Things, big data, mobile technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, even physical robotics, to harvest inputs from our environment, including humans, nature, put that into a data store or a data warehouse, run some algorithms on it to extract some insights, and then based on that actually kick off a process to alert somebody to an interesting fact, or the fact that there's a problem somewhere to be solved.
And so presumably that's digital transformation as well as the sort of process automation sort of then fits into one of the third services you offer, which is about business optimization. So this is about maximizing the business's potential and the employees' potential within it. And so how else would you help a business with sort of optimization?
Well, optimization itself, I guess that's the end goal of all of this. I think infinitely optimized business is everybody's goal. So this is always striving to reach that point. This is why with process automation and digital transformation, it's iterative. So you always try and make yourself better until you reach a point where you are optimized. But of course then businesses change, economic conditions change. So optimization one day could mean you doomed the next day because there's specific things in your market that's changed. There's a crash. So for us to truly optimize a business, we try and install agility into businesses. The first thing we want to do is to enable them to manage their processes. So if your process change, we enable you to do that yourself and manage that yourself. Yes, of course, we go in and we help you do that. We tell you what progressive technologies you can leverage to go digital. And then we say, this is the optimization benefits you'll get. I think the key point there is the fact that we want to enable our customers to be able to do that themselves. So that enablement actually allows them to change their business models themselves if the market conditions around them changes. And I think that in itself it is sort of it's an art and a science. I think that the science bit is what we could tell people how that works, but obviously every business know deeply with inside what their models are and how they work. So you could provide the tool sets and the capability to say, well, if you need to pivot yourself, you can do that.
And presumably, if a new business came to you as a prospect client, you would go in, do an assessment of their current situation, provide them with, obviously a report or otherwise explaining to them how they can basically improve and enhance what they're currently doing.
Yes.
Help them implement that. And then presumably provide an ongoing service where you maintain a relationship where you're on hand to help them evolve, pivot, as you've said, remain nimble, and also provide presumably coaching to ensure that they actually stick to the plan, as it were, because obviously, using the racing analogy based on the fact we're on Silverstone, getting the car, the race car off the line is one thing, but ensuring it reaches the checkered flag and potentially winning is a whole another sort of kettle of fish.
Yeah. No, it is a journey. We typically offer prospective customers or customers a free assessment. So we would actually do a free discovery session for them, have a chat, look at some of their problems, look at quick wins, because it's all about being agile and showing value very quickly, because we feel that makes people more interested in adopting process automation, digital transformation. Once we do our free assessment, we then plan out, what is the best way to kind of reach your optimization goals? What is the sort of things that you should be looking at? And that's collaborative. Like I said earlier, every business owner knows their business inside out. We go in and we can tell people, how to leverage technology, like the ones we've talked about. But we need to get that picture in their head to say, well, these are the capabilities that you can use to optimize your business. So we need to actually get that in their heads so that they can actually see the benefits of what the technology can do for them. And also in terms of enablement, like you say, it's not just getting the car off the starting line. It's also, the whole race itself. So it is a team effort. We do see our customers as our partners. We create partnerships with them. So we take them down this journey. We try and enable them as much as possible. So they don't have to pick the phone up every time there's a problem. We want to actually build a sort of a sustainable model inside their business, and also a center of excellence around these things, so that they can actually stand up themselves and say, you've showed us how to do X, we can do Y now. Because 9 times out of 10 they actually come back to you and say, well, we've got a bigger Z here, can you help us with this now? So I think that actually builds a very sort of a sustainable model, and there's a good synergy between our customers and ourselves.
And one full of confidence as well. In each other, that they've got confidence that you know what you're doing and that you can help, but also you've got confidence they're listening, and that they then actually take ownership for the decisions that they're making. As you said, so it's not just you saying it, they then believe it.
I think it is a team sport, all of this. I believe that humans are designed to work as a team, and I think once you get people excited, and that's why we do target quick wins. The technology is very affordable as well, and it could be as small as you want it to be or as big as you want it to be. But I think it's all about people getting value of being part of a successful team, because everybody wants to be successful. And once people join that success story, it does spread through a business.
It's contagious.
That is why we do have some big names that we deal with, because we are agile. We sort of start small, but then we try and install the vision in them and help them to actually take that and scale that out across their business.
It's great. It's fantastic, and again, congratulations. The list of clients and what I read off previously is only just a few. There's many more. And for those listening that are interested in this, you have a free download on your website, which we will include in the show notes, if that's okay. The download is called Unleashing the Bots. So what's that about? Clearly, it's pretty predictable, but what is it you talk about there?
It sounds scary, unleashing the bots. Skylab is coming.
Sure.
But it's not. I think robotic process automation is another progressive technology with Inside Digital Transformation. It's not a conventional robot that walks to the coffee machine and get you a coffee and come back. It's nothing to do with that.
That would be nice, though.
It would be nice, yeah. Everybody would like that. But we'll get to that later. I think with software bots, what we're seeing is there's a lot of scaremongering going on in the market. It is a hot topic at the minute, employing or unleashing the bots. I think there's two camps. The one camp is people are scared that it will take jobs away. And other camp says, no, it will create jobs because people will actually be more productive and they will do different things. That's more meaningful.
Surely it would just, my opinion is that it will enhance what we're doing. Certainly in my sector, which is financial advice, I view, the introduction of enhanced technology as something that will enable me, but also enable my clients with what we do. But certainly within, the sectors that you're covering, I think is a good thing.
Absolutely, and I think if you download the paper, you will see that what it actually tells you is that it will make people more effective in what they're doing and remove robotic activities out of their lives. How many times if you do a specific thing, perhaps in a business where there's an insurance claim that you have to log into various systems and you have to do that 100 times a day because you process 100 claims. So what we're saying is that we take that mundaneness out of that person's life by actually doing that work for them and just presenting the information to them, and they can then just review the information. So it takes the mundane out of the person's job. It actually takes the robot out of the human because the human's not swiveling their chair, logging into different systems all the time, feeling like a robot. They can actually do their job by reviewing a claims document and also increasing the number of claims that can be processed in a day. I think robots will allow businesses to grow bigger in the future because people will be more productive. I don't think it's going to cause people to lose their jobs. People will just be redeployed elsewhere. It's like the Industrial Revolution, where machines were invented and people just got promoted to factory managers. So it's the same thing that's happening in Industry 4.0.
Yeah, it's interesting times ahead and very, very exciting in my opinion. So great. Arno, that's a phenomenal amount of information, brilliant information. I'm certainly highly valuable to me, but also to the listeners. So thank you for sharing that about Velocity and what you guys do. And as I said, we'll put a number of the show notes, a number of the links within the show notes, so people can download that little ebook, and also clearly contact you for any sort of commercial conversations. I just want to quickly talk about Silverstone, if that's okay. So obviously the podcast is called Inside Silverstone. You and I are both, our businesses are members of the Silverstone Technology Cluster. When did you join the sort of area and the region, sort of commercially? And sort of what's your experience so far with the cluster?
So first of all, we joined the cluster at the beginning of this year with PIM for the sole reason of actually collaborating with technology firms. For us, it's all about having dialogue with people, businesses in the area, around the Silverstone area, and sharing stories, seeing what people are doing in terms of innovation. I would like to think Velocity as a company is actually an innovation company. Yes, we are doing specific things with processes, but we're also got a program which is called the Incubator Program, where we get graduates on board and there's some innovation that goes on. We build a robot, for instance, that does certain things. We tinker around with technology. So that's the sort of thing that I enjoy. And part of being a member of the the Silverstone technology cluster is the fact that you can share those stories with other people.
Yeah.
And they can share their stories with yourself.
Yeah.
What problems they see, perhaps what progressive technologies mean to them.
Yeah.
And it's just a good excuse to have a chat with somebody local,
Like-minded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do feel it is a small world. You bump into people and then realize they, live a couple of miles down the road and they're interested in a similar thing like yourself. So, for us, what we also want to do is, we had a event in Milton Keynes not so long ago, and one of the Milton Keynes councillors were there.
Okay. You did that with Grant Thornton as well.
That's right. Yes. And that was a great event. We had Pim there as well. He had a great piece on technology, what the cluster is doing.
So Pim's the CEO of the cluster, just for the listeners' benefit.
Yes, and he did a phenomenal piece on exactly the benefits, and there was some great conversations afterwards. And it is amazing how. Not just in motorsport technology, but how many carryovers from motorsport technology actually there is in other industries and other technologies. And I think it's good that people come together, share those experiences, and hopefully that will drive innovation forward as well, bring out new ideas, perhaps form new joint ventures, collaboration between people. So that's our main driver.
Well, it's already working. The cluster's been around, I think, for 18 months. There's currently 80 members, which we're obviously part of. As Pim said in his first interview, so he's the first interview for the podcast. For those that haven't listened to it yet, go back to episode 1. They're targeting ultimately all 4,500 Silverstone Park members, which are businesses that are connected within 1 hour of radius of the Silverstone Park and the Silverstone circuit. And there are already many success stories, including a number of firms working with Heathrow on some of their projects, which is very, very exciting. In relation to you, Arno.
Yes.
I always get the same response with everybody. What I'd love to do, what we do with this interview is we talk about the business, which you've done fantastically. Have a quick conversation about Silverstone, really for the benefit of firms that are potentially listening to this, or business owners or executives who might not be part of Silverstone yet, considering potentially joining. And then I really want to do a human piece on you. Background, journey from South Africa to the UK, why, sort of family life, etc. So, born and raised in South Africa.
That's right.
Just before the interview started, you said that you're also 7th generation Dutch. So I'm not sure if Pim's aware of that. Is also Dutch, and presumably you're not related. But what's the background there with Holland?
Yeah. So my dad is obsessed with family trees.
Great.
And
Great.
He's the master of disaster when it comes to that sort of thing. So he comes to the UK every year, and one day he plucked out this family tree and he showed me, he unrolled this thing and showed me where we're from. So,
okay.
So that's when I established I was 7th generation Dutch.
Fantastic.
And the sort of the father of the Van Rooyen was a guy called Cornelius, and he was not
Cornelius.
Yes, that's right.
Great.
He's not far from Rotterdam. So I guess there is probably a connection between me and Pim in some way.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm better looking than him.
Oh, well, if you haven't listened to the first interview, it's hysterical because we talk about how handsome he is, and so that's very coincidental. So we'll let the listeners be the judge of that from looking at the artwork that we post for both of you. So. And so you're sort of born and raised in South Africa, obviously family, some of your family's still there. What was it like growing up in South Africa?
Good childhood memories. Grew up in the 80s, which is
great.
Best time to grow up. A lot of sunshine, a lot of barbecues. We've got a phenomenon called sort of a summer over Christmas, which is strange for Northern Hemisphere people. Where everybody goes to the beach and have a braai or barbecue, as they say. Humble upbringing. My dad was a gold miner.
Wow.
I got a lot of, I guess, got a good grounding as a child. He's very ambitious, always believed in education.
Hard working though, as a gold miner.
Yes, very hard working. Like I say, quite humble background. He was a gold miner for 25 years. He's retired now.
Yeah.
Hence why he's chasing around the family tree, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, good for him.
He's keeping busy. Good childhood memories. Like I say, grew up in the 80s. Obviously a bit more sunshine in South Africa than in the UK.
Into your sport? Rugby?
Yes, played rugby at school. I was a flanker.
Okay.
I still watch rugby.
Yeah, I was number 8, so there we are. So looking forward to the Lions tour
Absolutely.
in due course. So I have memories of Jeremy Guscott, but anyway. And so you've got obviously your mum and so your mum and pa back in South Africa. You've got family over in the UK?
Yes, I've got a sister in London.
Okay. Did she come to the UK before you?
After me.
Okay, so she followed you?
Yes, sort of. Maybe my parents sent her to look after me.
Okay.
Because they heard I was going to tour Europe.
Okay.
So she came also for a holiday, and she met her husband here, and got married. The rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. Great. So you did a bit of. So you've mentioned it a couple of times. You toured Europe. So any sort of memorable places that you went when you were a bit younger? Any places that you'd like to go to again?
Been around the block in Europe quite a lot.
Okay.
A lot in Holland, Amsterdam, Rotterdam. Been in France a couple of times. I absolutely love Paris.
Sure.
Love London as well. I think of all the cities in the world, London is still my favourite one.
Yeah.
Just came back from north of Italy recently.
Lovely.
Enjoying sort of travelling around, experiencing, different things.
Different cultures.
Absolutely, and sort of just off the beaten track as well. Like to try new things.
Well, it's a big world, isn't it?
It is massive, yes.
And so even the step from South Africa to the UK, which clearly a lot of fellow countrymen have done. I used to play rugby with a chap from South Africa, and actually his entire family moved over, and they're phenomenal at rugby, from memory. But even that in itself is a big step. On your own, young man, finding your way post education. So it's good, really, really good. And then you settled near me. So you now live in South Northamptonshire. So you live in Towcester.
That's right.
A few miles away from me, where you live with your partner, and you've got 2 young sons.
Yes, a 5-year-old and a 8-year-old.
Okay, and are they have they followed in their dad's footsteps, being relatively sporty and competitive, sort of rugby-wise, football like kids do?
Yeah, so my youngest one, he plays rugby for Towcestrians.
Okay, great.
He's in there. The oldest one is more into swimming.
Cool.
Towcester is a great place to live, not just for the fact that there's about 12 pubs in the area.
There is.
Walking distance.
Yeah.
There's also good facilities, the leisure centre, good schools.
Yeah.
Like I said, the rugby club is not far away.
Yeah.
So it's a great place to raise children, especially 2 boys.
Yeah.
Which has got a lot of energy.
There's a lot to do around here, and there's a lot of activities. There's clearly a lot of countryside to go walking and keep fit. And obviously you're into cycling as well, aren't you? Avid cyclist, so presumably you're on the roads occasionally on weekends.
Yes, I do try my luck, staying fit. I do have the bike. South Northamptonshire is actually a great place to cycle.
Yeah.
The roads towards sort of the villages towards the west are quite quiet. It's just a great way to get out, recharge, think about different things. I think one of the challenges about running a business is that you're always busy. So you have to force yourself to actually go out, to just detach slightly, turn the phone off, go for a nice bike ride.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, you come back with a fresh idea, and that's
invaluable.
That's very valuable for me as a person to stay active.
So that neatly sort of leads on to sort of my two last questions, actually, which for everybody that listens to the show should know what's coming. So the first question I'd like to ask is about understanding about any type of potential mistake that you've made through your business career, whether it be something serious or something very light-hearted, but something that was a key learning point or even potentially a pivot moment. Do you have anything that you could share with our listeners and me about that? Anything you're prepared to disclose?
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, sorry, but anything there?
There has been a few incidents. In our profession, when you automate things, if that means stuff happens repeatedly, so you might create a letter and it gets sent out 100 times. So when I was Swindon, we had a business process that was automated, and for this particular process, it actually sends out letters to a person that should just open up a bank account, and this thing got stuck. So it managed to send out 500 letters to the same person.
Oh God!
So the Royal Mail actually delivered all of these letters.
Oh my God!
It went out, so they had to put it in a crate and literally put the crate in front of this person.
Oh my God! Okay.
So that was an embarrassing moment.
Sure.
For us as a team.
And so what did that teach you to moving forward to make sure you don't do that again? so what have you done system-wise to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I think, from a technical perspective, test things. Don't just assume stuff works. But also from a human side, it just shows people make mistakes.
Sure.
That was easily rectified. I think, when you look at a professional career, sometimes there's not a lot of humor with inside it. I wouldn't say this is humorous for somebody to have 500 letters delivered in a crate half the size of a van, but yeah, it also shows people have got mistakes, people make mistakes, but it's just how you move on from those sort of things.
Yeah, definitely about learning from them, which is the point of including it in the podcast interviews, is to show that you're bang on about the human side of it, because we're all susceptible to mistakes, and it's about what happens afterwards that is ultimately going to be the making of you. And hopefully the person that received those 500 letters either immediately or eventually saw the funny side of it, and certainly an honest mistake from the building society that was obviously that they were a member of. That's a great example. Thank you, Arno. That's brilliant. Two last questions. First of all, is there anything that I haven't asked that I should have, or anything that you think would be of benefit to our listeners before we close off?
I think you've pretty much covered my whole life story.
Got it all?
Yep.
We've got it all. So very last question, which I always ask. I'm selfish, it's my podcast, so I'm going to ask it. What piece of advice could you give me, Chris Broome, whether it be sort of lifestyle, personal, something light-hearted, something profound and serious, over your life from continent to continent? What could you give me?
I guess I would say stay curious.
Great.
In what you do. A lot of people say curiosity killed the cat, but I think it turns the cat into a tiger.
Brilliant. Boom. That's it.
Thank you.
Don't need to ask any more questions. Arno, thank you so much for coming on.
You're so welcome.
Two things. First of all, I definitely want to get you back on the podcast. So maybe in a year's time, once the podcast is a year old, we can talk about any other sort of projects that you're working on, any changes within sort of digital space that may be benefiting or indeed even impacting businesses within the cluster that they need to be aware of. That'd be great. So if that's okay, I'll definitely reach out again and get you back on.
Yes.
And secondly, definitely need to go for a beer in Toaster
That's right.
at some point in the future. So we'll chat to Roger, your colleague who set this meeting up, and probably have a conversation with Pim, so we can get to, both Dutch guys out together and
get to the root of this seventh generation Dutch connection.
And we'll go for a beer in Toaster, which should be great. So Arno, again, thank you so much for coming on. Look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thanks, Chris.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.